everyone. We'd like to greet our third lecturer today, Miss Irene. Today we will discuss what business studies means in commerce, real-life examples, and benefits to the youth taking business studies as a subject in their career. Today we are joined by Miss Irene, who is a teacher at Dubai Gem Private School. How are you doing today, Miss Irene?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Once again, we really appreciate you joining us today and giving our listeners a new perspective of business studies as a subject. So tell us about yourself. What is your profession? What do you do?
Okay, to start with, my name is Irene. I am a lecturer or a teacher in Dubai Gem Private School. I'm taking business studies for year 9, 10s and 11s. And what I can say about myself is that I am a Kenyan, highly motivated, especially when it comes to teaching. I have a master's degree in business administration, specialized in finance. And I love education because I believe that as I teach, I also learn. And learning ends when someone is dead. So that is all about myself, and I love to see students challenged and also learn as I teach, because in teaching it's about delivering and ensuring that students learn something each time I meet them.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, Ms. Irene, why did you choose business studies as a subject in your career? Did you foresee any benefits to taking business studies?
All right. When I was young in primary school, I had a mindset on business. I really loved to see people having big businesses and being successful. So it's from that time that I started liking business as a subject. And then when I went to high school, I chose business as a subject, and it was really interesting, especially to see how people can start a small business and end up being successful entrepreneurs. Other than that, business studies has quite a lot other than just a business, because it teaches us management skills, leadership skills, among others, as well as market research. So I also like doing lots of research work, especially to know what is in the market, new things in the market. And with that, it made me even love to choose business studies as a subject. So for my first degree, I took business studies and economics, which really went on very well. And also for my master's, I had some units in business studies, which also included human resource management. And that one made it even more amazing, because I knew that by starting a business in future or being an entrepreneur, I would be in a position even to manage my human resource, because the human resource or employees are the ones that make business successful. Because without them, then of course, everything can be in a big mess. So that's why I got highly motivated to do business studies, and also to see students in my career, or rather in my field as a teacher, to see students also develop this kind of interest in loving the subject, because even with this, they will also be able to manage themselves as well as manage their families. And if it goes on well with them, they can also start a business and it also goes well with them. So that's a good reason as to why I chose business studies as a subject.
Wow, I mean, that was really introspective, like how you thought so far ahead in your primary age or when you were picking your subjects. So, do you like teaching students business studies, and does it get hard at times? And was this career choice of being a teacher your career you wanted to choose, or you wanted something else, like maybe a successful entrepreneur?
All right, when it comes to choosing my career, at first I thought of being a doctor or maybe a lawyer. I had two options. doctor was my best or my first option. But again, I had someone who really influenced my decision when I was young. That was my dad, because he was a teacher by himself, and my mom also was a teacher. So because of that, they made lots of influence to my decisions, and they actually led me to choosing the degree in teaching. However, when I started my teaching practice when I was in my third year in the university, I kind of liked it because I was able to meet students, and I could have very good rapport with the students, and I would see students really enjoying my lessons. And then I started liking the career itself. Later, I started teaching when I was about 23 years old, and I could still see students enjoying my lessons. And with this, I felt it might be a good field for me. And currently, I can say that I enjoy teaching because every time I approach my students, I see them maybe some of them, of course, they will be willing to learn. Others at times are absent-minded, but that doesn't mean that it demotivates much in my teaching. I like it when I see students learn something new, and especially the beginners when they start year 9, when they are completely blank of what business studies is. That is actually the best time when I try to capture their mind and then start making them understand that this is a very interesting subject which can build their future to being somebody. So with that, I find it interesting to help them understand how this subject can make a life for them. Because business studies, that does not necessarily mean you become just an entrepreneur with no other qualifications or maybe other specialization. Because even a doctor, you can still do other courses like being a doctor and still apply knowledge of business studies by starting your own clinic, among others. Being an engineer, they can also start a business in that field. So basically, I encourage students to take business studies, not thinking of just a business as a shop or a supermarket, but a business that which can relate to any other field which they can decide to specialize of their own interest.
Right, like that gives like a completely different perspective of business studies, because when I was in year 8, I was going to think business studies, it'll be like a shop, like learning how to become an entrepreneur and how to manage your business. But again, it's totally different until you get to the subject. So let's get to the point then. What exactly is business studies?
Business studies is it's a subject that teaches us about different elements of business activities, starting with the business activities whereby we have a production of goods and services which are used to satisfy human needs and wants. But that is not all about business studies. Business studies also have things like learning about people in businesses, which has things to do with motivation of employees, organization and management, where you're supposed to know about the organization structure of different companies or different sizes of businesses. Also, business studies has issues to do with marketing, whereby it is elements of ensuring products it's taken all the way from production to customers. So with marketing, we normally discuss issues like market research, where you're supposed to research on a new product in the market or a service. And then if you find out that you're in a position to sell it, then you can go ahead and come up with a new product development. And then with this product, you can price it, you can promote it, and finally ensure that it gets to the customers at the right time, right place. Other than that, we also have other things in business studies, which are like financial information and financial decisions, where we prepare income statements and balance sheet, as well as cash flow forecasting. And we also teach about analysis of accounts, which we help students to know that having financial statements is not enough. We need to analyze them and find out what they actually mean, because you can have a profit, but again, the business may not really be doing well, because you have to compare with competitors or even different periods of time. Other than that, we also learn about external influences on business issues, which are things like economic issues, environment and ethical issues, as well as business and international economy. So business studies is a very broad subject. It is a subject which you can learn quite a lot. As well as, I think one of the things that I've left out is operation and management, where we learn about production of goods and services. This area we discuss on different methods of producing goods and services, like using job production, batch production, mass production, among others. And we also learn how to be very efficient at production in a way that we reduce wastage. And this one we use things like lean production, whereby you try as much as you can to reduce wastage during production. And with that in mind, we also focus on break-even analysis, whereby we learn how to break even, or to know at what point a company can break even, whereby you're able to cover the cost and then you are ready to start making profit. So most of the businesses, you'll find that they fail because they don't have this kind of information. They start a business not knowing at what point they break even, or at what point they are able to cover their cost, and then they can start preparing themselves to earn profit. So just to add to that, we also learn about location decisions, where exactly you need to locate your business, because you just don't wake up in one day and decide that I want my business in such and such a place. You need to think about it. You need to follow some factors which will be determining the best place for you to set up your business. So just to make a summary of that, I can say that business studies has quite a lot. It's not just about a shop. It is more than that. It has to do with financial management. It has to do with the methods of production, marketing a product, among others.
Right. I mean, that was like really in depth. Like, it was like a lecture or a brief explanation of business studies, but in like a couple of minutes, right? So I'm pretty sure now you don't have to give real life examples, because that explanation was like so in depth. You have pretty much covered like most of the questions our listeners might have. So, do you recommend students to take business studies as a subject in their career like you did?
100%. I can recommend students to take business subject as a course, because whatever a specialization you are thinking about, like I said, you still need some of these courses in business studies. So like I said, you can maybe you'd like to be a doctor. You can think of opening a clinic, and with the business knowledge, then it becomes much easier for you also to be profitable. If you want to be an engineer, like I said, you can as well use the information of business studies to set up your own firm. Think about being a lawyer. Lawyers also they can also use this the course also to help them set up a law firm. Auditors also, they can set up their audit firms. So it is very profitable to take business studies. I know most of the students nowadays are thinking of maybe they feel like business studies is an easy subject, or maybe it's just about setting up a small business. I would like to advise them that it is a very profitable subject to take, because whichever field you are taking, you can as well become your very own entrepreneur in whichever area that you want to pursue. So it's advisable to take business studies as a subject.
Wow, right. I mean, that probably intrigues our listeners more towards taking business studies as a subject. So, lastly, before we end this lecture, what are some things students should keep in mind when taking or learning business studies? Like, what will they have use for it in their career? What mindset they have to approach the subject with?
Okay, what I would say is that they would approach this subject being open-minded and self-motivated or self-driven, because it has quite a lot of content that they need to absorb. They need to understand. There are enough business terms that they need also to understand and grasp so that they can be useful to them. Students are also supposed to know that in business studies, there is also a lot of research work which can be also helpful to them. So we need also we need to be ready to do a lot of market research, whereby you can use questionnaires, you can use interviews, among others, so that you can get the very best from the market. Other than that, they also need to get prepared to find some quantitative. Of course, some people say they don't like math, but also in business studies you will find some math, especially for the finance topics, where we have business finance and we have cash flow forecasting. It has a lot of quantitatives, but not as hard as mathematics. The quantitative that we have in business studies is just a plus and a minus, whereby you have to add, if it is about sales, you're supposed to add sales plus maybe the cost of goods sold, and then you have to minus the expenses, among others. So they also need that mindset to find some numbers in business studies. And in addition to that, we can say that they also need to be ready to learn about new things, especially new ideas, to come up with new products in the market. They're supposed to be alert to be competitive in the market. So those are some of the things that I can advise students to keep in mind when they are choosing business studies as a subject. Also, for this course of IGCSE, they expect to have about 29 units or 29 topics that will be covered, which is quite a lot. So you need to be prepared to learn, or rather to revise quite often, so that you can keep yourself prepared or set for your exams if it has to do with exams.
Right. So, I mean, I think this lecture really helps students to know what business studies is, what will they face if they take the subject. And I'm pretty sure they were intrigued as well to take the subject. And now they even know what mindset they should learn the subject with. So, Arnav?
Thank you so much for joining us, Miss. This lecture was honestly mind-blowing. I wish I had this lecture before choosing business studies, because not only does it motivate you to choose business studies, but it also helps you know what you're going to get when you choose business studies, even though you're already choosing it. Thank you so much for joining us, Miss, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you so much.